Our next speaker is actually the voices that we've been talking about so much that we actually wanted to bring particularly into this space, which are the voices of the people who are actually experiencing the health, our patients, their patients' advocates, people who are actually consuming our services, using our services, demanding of our services. Melissa Thomason is actually a health advocate, patient advocate from the USA, and she'd like to start her presentation by just giving us a bit of an intro through a video, and then you'll actually get a chance to meet Melissa herself, who'd like to talk more about the themes presented.
People ask me all the time, how are you here? How did you make it? And I tell them, because an entire team of compassionate individuals came together to take care of me. I was 35 weeks pregnant with my first child. We found out it was a little boy and were absolutely elated, and everything was going perfectly until October 17th. I had a doctor's appointment and my blood pressure was really, really high. So they hospitalized me for preeclampsia and admitted me to Heritage that day. I had one job in the whole world as a mother, and that was to get that baby safely to this world. And I felt like I was a failure. I'd been in the hospital for 2 days. I woke up that morning, and when I did, this pain hit me that was absolutely indescribable, and I screamed for my husband. And they thought maybe the placenta had become detached, so they did a C-section right then, immediately. I was scared. I wasn't awake during the C-section. I remember being overwhelmed because I thought I had 5 more weeks before I was going to become a mom. And you kind of prepare yourself mentally, you know, and then all of a sudden, in a moment, the baby's going to be here. When I woke up in recovery, they asked me how I was feeling, and the first thing I said was, I can't breathe. Anxiety is common after a C-section, and that's what they said. It's probably anxiety. Take a deep breath and relax. So I tried to do that. They told me that the baby had been born at 7 pounds and was absolutely healthy, and I was absolutely ecstatic. And then Dr. Sproul came in, and he did something remarkable. He listened to me, he believed me, and he ordered a CT scan stat right then. I can't say that I was at complete peace and everything was perfect, but I knew it would be okay now. I knew that as long as someone was listening, we could make it through anything. We just needed somebody on our side. When the CT scan results came back, they found an aortic dissection. The aorta of my heart had ripped open from just above the aortic root all the way down the entire descending aorta. And I just kind of looked at him dumbfounded, and he said, the helicopter's on its way. That was tough because I hadn't seen the baby yet. So that's when it hit me. You know, I'm leaving him, and I have to leave him here. I'm getting on a helicopter to go to Greenville, to go to Pitt County Memorial Hospital, and Nathaniel's here in Charbrough at Heritage Hospital, and I won't be here. And I was devastated. Then they brought him in, and I made myself dry my tears and hold him and kiss him and take a picture where I didn't look so sad over what was happening, because I wanted him to know that despite the circumstances, I was happy that he is here. Then I do the hardest thing that I've ever had to do in my life, telling my little boy goodbye that day. Those healthcare workers showed love and compassion at a time when that was what I needed more than anything. I needed someone to be human, to be compassionate, to see what I was going through and to care. And that was exactly what they did. I could not have asked them to handle it any better. It just wouldn't have been possible. I told my husband I loved him, and I looked down the hall and saw my dad, and I waved to him, and they pushed me into the operating room, and I woke up 3 days later. It was disorienting and confusing, and the first thing I asked for upon waking up was the baby. I said, baby. You kind of get lost in it. It's like the days don't stop. And 6 weeks later, when I was released, you finally felt like you'd gotten to tomorrow. You know, this is what a hospital is supposed to be like. It's not just supposed to be a place to practice medicine. It's not just somewhere that healthcare workers go because that's their career. This is like a home. When you're there for as long as I was, that becomes your home. And these healthcare workers become family. I got to see my son's first steps. I got to hear his first words, and it was Mama. I was there at his first birthday party, and at his second, and at his third, because somebody cared enough to do the hard thing. And I can teach you to talk like you care, to sound like you care, to walk like you cared. But unless you care, I will know the difference. Caring is something that happens on the inside. And I think that's the goal. You treat the patient and you do what's best for them. And when that requires collaboration between you and the patient, you do it. You and the family, you do it. You and another hospital, you do it. Through all that I've been through, more than anything, I think I've realized that there are no insignificant contributions in healthcare. There is no one that doesn't matter, and we are all one team working for one goal, and we are going to win or we are going to lose together. And this time, we won. I got to come home, and I get to be a mom, and I am alive today because we became one team. Clinical staff, non-clinical staff, my family, and me. We made it happen, and I cannot say thank you enough. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I partied way too hard last night. No, just kidding. So after my second surgery, my left vocal cord was actually paralyzed. And speaking over the music last night got me. So you're going to have to strain really hard to hear me this morning. Now that we're all crying after that video. So I've never watched that video and not shed tears because it's not just a good story to me. It's my life. Oh, where's my clicker? Here we go. All right. So I thought that after all of that suffering, I'd sort of paid my price to the universe. I'd learned a good lesson. I was never going to take life for granted. I was going to raise this baby, and all was going to be well. But it didn't end. And 9 months or 6 months later, after the aortic dissection, after the first open heart, they found a huge aneurysm in the top of my descending aorta. 3 months after that, they did a thoracoabdominal incision wrapped around my left side. 108 staples from the top of my back to the bottom of my abdomen. It was literal hell on earth. There is no glossing over it. It is pain undescribable. And then 3 months after that, they went back in the front and did my aortic root. So 3 open hearts in a year. And I thought I handled it really well. I thought that I'd come out emotionally in a good place. And then the PTSD started. And I would wake up screaming in the middle of the night and have no idea why. and my husband would hold me. I thought that everything was okay, but deep down it really wasn't, until I found purpose in my pain. So I became a patient and family advisor after an invitation extended by my local healthcare system. And in that work of being a patient and family advisor, I found purpose in my pain. I found a way to get out all of the things that I'd gone through. I found a way to make it better for patients to come, and it helped me deal with my own trauma. I've contributed significantly to hospitals in my area, to national level boards, to international conferences. I love what I do, but not just because I contribute. It helps me heal after what I've been through. Then this past December, my story slide isn't even all the way up to date, because in December, I had an unexpected stroke and spent almost this entire year so far recovering from that. It's a never-ending process, because I was born with a genetic disorder that I didn't get to choose. I like to say, I didn't get a vote, I didn't get a choice, but you do. So what are patient and family advisors? We're just patients and families who've been through your hospital system, who come together to work with you in active partnership. So what is patient and family engagement then? And it's a buzzword, everybody uses it now. But when you think about patient engagement, really think about active partnerships. That's really the key. All of the other stuff is extra. If you are working as partners with your patients, then you are engaging patients. But working with your patients at a low level of engagement isn't always as far as you can grow. So this is one of my favorite frameworks for patient and family engagement. I worked with one of the authors of it back in North Carolina in the United States, and she draws out engagement at different levels, from bedside direct care through boardroom quality improvement engagement style care to policy level engagement. And at all of those levels, you can engage with patients at a low, mid, or high level. When you get a chance to go back through these slides, take a look at all of those and ask yourself, is my health system engaging patients to the extent that we could be? So as a patient and family advisor, I've done lots of stuff in my local healthcare system, and I get asked a lot, so where do I put my patient advisors? And the answer is everywhere. I think you need real patients, people who've been through your healthcare system, people who've consumed your product at every important decision-making table in your system, because we bring a piece to the conversation that can be gotten in no other way. I respect healthcare workers who have their own care experiences. I think it's powerful when you're a doctor and can also see things from the hospital bed. But you guys can't unknow what you know. You will never have eyes who can see the healthcare system without all that you've learned and all that you're aware of. One of the scariest things for me was I was a public school teacher. I had no concept of what it meant to walk through the healthcare system and to have to navigate that level of interaction, of trauma, and that level of emotion all at the same time. And having patients in the room who can bring that to your conversation, who can say, but have you considered? It is a valuable thing. So this is just some of what I've done at the local level. We know that patient stories are really powerful. They're inspiring. They remind us why we do what we do. But it goes so far beyond storytelling. I love that I get to do rounds on patients at my local hospital. that I get to round with leaders and hospital CEOs. We'll walk into a patient room together, and where a patient will look at them and say, I don't know if I can make this health system better. I think everything's okay. They'll look at me and say, when they see my scars, you know, there are a few things I think we can do better, because they recognize a fellow soldier. They know I've been there. They know I've suffered, and they open up to me a lot of times where they don't open up to the leaders in their healthcare systems. So we've done patient stories, we've done education, both implementation and design. If you're not using patients to develop your hospital education, the medical education in your areas, then you're missing a really big opportunity and value. I've done direct quality improvement work with individual units, particularly cardiovascular surgery ICUs. One unit that I worked with really was struggling with med communication. So I worked with their nurse manager. We developed a system for med communication that their patients could use, and it worked fantastic. Their scores improved, and they said they would never have another meeting without a patient in the room. It was pretty amazing. And all of that is high-level opportunities to engage patients. But if you want to engage patients in quality improvement work and get the value from patients at that level, you have to make sure that you are delivering incredibly compassionate, direct care to the patients in your facility. Now, when it comes to direct care, I think the big word always is compassion. And we speak about compassion as if it's a binary concept. You either have it or you don't. But it's not like that to us. So I can tell you names of nurses that I had along the way who were incredible, who existed way on this end of the compassion spectrum. Nurse Penny, who watched me cry when they wouldn't let me out of the hospital and rubbed my feet until I fell asleep, right? Nurse Chelsea, who brushed my hair for me in ICU so that I would feel proud when my baby walked in the door. And then nurse, I won't name her name, who existed on the other end of the spectrum, who looked at me in ICU at another facility while I was intubated, and I wanted to see my husband. I was terrified. They were getting ready to give me a combination of medicines that I'm not allergic to, so it wasn't listed on my chart, but I'd had a really bad reaction to in the past. In fact, it overdosed me and almost killed me. And I looked at that nurse and was trying to tell her, I cannot have that fentanyl patch. But I was intubated, and her response was, I don't speak sign language. As I knew my letters, and I tried to spell out no fentanyl. I don't know sign language. And until I cried to the point that I was almost shaking, she finally wrote letters down on a piece of paper and sort of shoved it in my face. And I slid my finger along the letters to spell out HUSB. And she said, husband. And I shook my head because I knew that I wasn't strong enough to slide my finger and say, listen, lady, they gave me this medicine like last time, and it might kill me, right? So I said, HUSB. She said, are you saying husband? And I said, and she said, it's not visiting hours, right? So I cried some more, and finally they brought my husband back, and I started spelling no fentanyl patch to him. And he said, who's trying to give her a fentanyl patch? She can't have that. And of course the nurse's response was, not me. And she walked away. She existed on the entirely other end of the compassion spectrum. But it's not always like that. The question isn't, are you compassionate? The question is, are you compassionate enough? Are you doing everything you can be doing to make sure the patients in your system feel the heart of your system? I don't have a ton of time, so I'm trying to hurry. Now, another piece of direct bedside care engagement that you've got to make sure trickles down your system right to direct care is collaboration. One part of that, just like I told you, is family presence. Families are such valuable tools in the treatment of their loved ones. Those nurses loved me. Those doctors were incredible. But let me tell you a secret. No one wants me to live more than that man in that chair because he's my husband. He has more at stake. He has more on the line than every person in that room. So why wouldn't you ask him his opinion? He is not a stakeholder. He is the stakeholder, and so am I. Collaboration with families, with patients, with fellow healthcare systems. You do whatever it takes to bring care to patients where they need it. So why do I do this work? Why do I get up in front of strangers with laryngitis? After a long night of talking over the music last night, in fact, I blame the dancers, I'll be honest. I screamed a lot at the dancers, right? So why do I do this work? Well, I do it because of those pictures. Because they're not just cute pictures to me. Those are the moments of my life that I would have missed if it wasn't for people like you. I know that it has to be difficult to do your job. I don't think I could do it. I know that you probably work way too hard, far too much, and it pulls on you an incredible amount. But I also know that I need you, and that people like me need you, and that no matter how hard it is, in the end, it is worth it, because I got my moments because of people like you. I got to see my son just this past summer learn to swim. I will be there as soon as we get home for his 10th birthday. I get to be mom because people like you refuse to quit. I love bedside clinicians, but people like you set the standard for care. You have incredible power in the lives of people like me. So I'm asking you to do something bold, to do something courageous. I'm asking you that no matter how smart you are, that no matter what the numbers say, I'm asking you to lead with your heart, even when it's difficult to do. I'm asking you to walk into patient rooms, to do leader rounding, to connect with people like me in your own healthcare systems, to show compassion to your workers, to your frontline staff, and to set an example for them of what care should really look like. Last night, my husband and I had a conversation, and I usually end this presentation in a different way. But what he said last night so resounded with me that I changed my last slide. I said, honey, I need them to know that they have to care for people like me. And he said, it is a path that only the courageous can follow. Because, Melissa, you are asking them to suffer with their patients. And some of them will not be willing to, honey. Over a 40-year career, how much will they have to suffer to lead with their hearts? And then again, and then again. It's a huge challenge. It is how many times can you get cut and keep opening your heart to the next person? How many scars can your heart hold? And we're all different. Some can hold one, some can hold 1,000,001. So you just do the best you can. You choose to suffer it one more time, and then one more time again. And if you do that, you will change the world. You won't have to worry about your healthcare metrics lining up. And it's the truth. I don't always remember the exact treatment plan that I was brought through. I don't always remember the numbers to my care, but I always remember what I felt like when that healthcare worker walked out of my door. So I challenge you today to do the very best you can by your patients, to engage them in new and unique ways. Become a trailblazer, a fire starter, a passion giver. Inspire the people in your organizations to stand up for patients, to champion engagement, and to set an example when it is hard to do. Because people like me need people like you. I did this spoken word poem in DC a few years back after our administration changed hands, when it became clear to me as a patient that in America, if you did not have enough money, sometimes you didn't get the chance to have good care. I have never met a patient. Of course, I am an impatient patient because I have passion and I have compassion and I have gratitude for days. But I do not have time. I do not have time to wait for health care to change at a glacier's pace. I need trailblazers, fire starters, incredible advocates for people like me, because I need care. Thank you.